turns out. One step and let it dry and we'll see what happens. Even though we got a bunch on his boot, what we'll end up doing is we'll want to have different degrees of oh, seriously, motherfucker. You've got to be kidding me. Seriously. This son of a... God fucking... I think we're back. Yes, I think we're back. Okay, let's go back. Let's start over because now my mic is working. Like I said, yeah, now it's popped up. I think what happened is that when I played the video, it muted my mic and then it did some squirrely stuff. So yeah, so hopefully you got sound now. Jamino says, I'm just here to follow Ferrith's comings and goings. Isn't everybody? So anyway, since this started off weird, so yesterday what I ended up doing is we were painting the miniature with the Artecho paints, which are a very good, inexpensive alternative to Army Painter paints, which are highly expensive. When you look at the per ounce cost, it's insane. Yeah, the Artecho paints are pretty good. And so we've been painting a mini, and I was like, I haven't done a video on that, but it's working well. We can combine colors, we can paint. It's got a real smooth pigmentation. They're pretty nice, and they're inexpensive, so that's a bonus. I like that. It's a win-win. However, yesterday, what ended up happening was I blew up the model we were painting with the Green Stuff World Crackle paint. And yeah, that just didn't go well. And so matter of fact, let me see if I can do it this way, is if I can pull this video and I'll show you, do a little recap. Now I'm going to be using some adult words on here. So this is, if you have any young children, cover their ears and, protect them. Tell them to go out of the room because we're going to have a big oops moment and I'm going to speak a little bit of French. So here we go. Turns out one step and let it dry and we'll see what happens. Even though we got a bunch on his boot, what we'll end up doing is we'll want to have different degrees of. So here it is. I'm putting stuff on there. It's hard. And I'm like, oh, instead of clearing the blockage, let's just press harder. Oh, seriously, motherfucker. Beep. You've got to be kidding me. So much fun. Seriously. This son of a... God. So let's make sure my mic is good. So according to the program, I'm still transmitting. Okay, so hopefully, yeah, that was the fun stuff that we had yesterday. And yeah, let's do a test. Mic is still working. Does everybody hear me? Yes? Hit the like button if you can hear me. So hopefully before I go back over there and we kind of take a look again, we'll make sure that we've got some audio. And I think we do. 5x5. Okay. Yes. Good. Steve, it happens. No judgment. That's absolutely true. Premature. Sometimes it happens. I think there's medication for that, so I'm going to look into that. I'm not ashamed. If you got a problem, seek help and get medication as needed. And yes, we hear. Okay, great, good. Okay, so let's go back over, and we'll go back over to the desk now that we have audio, confirmed audio. And we'll take a look at what this guy looks like. Let's see, if we found out yesterday that if we do this, it helps with the focus sometimes. Maybe not. So that's what it ended up. Yeah, kind of muddy. Kind of spread it around there a little bit. Not really sure what we're gonna do. But there is the model, and if we get close up to it, we can see that we did the edge highlighting. So it gives a little bit more depth on the model that you see there. and it came out pretty good. So, and we're going to try this red, and specifically on that square right there. I mean, the crackling worked pretty good. So not too bad. Train looks really sweet that it's printed texture, or is it painted? This is that crackle paint. So you just put this on there, and as it dries, it develops those cracks on its own. As it dries, it kind of recedes, and boom, that's it. So yeah, first time I've ever used that. And yeah, it works. You just have to check the nozzle to make sure. So interesting little product here, this crackle paint. Let's see, and we could go through and yeah, it turns out pretty good. Ferris says, I love these the effects paints. Yeah. And we could do some ground texture. I don't know if I want to do ground texture. I think what I want to do, I want to try to get some brown in there. And so with that, we're gonna get some of the brown, because we got black. Let me put the yellow back. And there we've got brown. And we could also do like a burnt sienna that we could try on that ground, and maybe we could do some little bit of blotching on there, and we could end up with something a little bit different. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for, after yesterday's explosion, I don't know where it's at. No! Oh, there it is. So let's get some of this. I wonder if, I don't think I've used this yet. Nope. And we'll just do some little dabbing stuff to put a little bit of color on that. That's a nice color. Kind of put some color on that base there. So we will try a little bit of that. Burnt sienna. And then we'll do a little bit of brown. And we'll mix those colors up a little bit, and we'll see how those work out. So we got burnt umber and burnt sienna, which is basically brown and, I don't know, brown and orange, I guess. The crackle on the boot seemed to give the model an appearance of heavyweight. Yeah, it does. I think so. I think it adds a little bit. But again, it's probably way too much on there. And I could try, I don't know, maybe we could try to get some of that crackle off of there. We can try to get a little bit, get some of the boot. But the problem is, I think that's gonna, it's also gonna take off some of that paint if I go too much. So, yeah. It's a lesson learned. It is what it is. Is the crackle base also acrylic? That's a good question. I don't think it is. Dun, dun, dun. Context. It says non-toxic water-based paint, no latex. That's all it says. So it doesn't say that it's acrylic, but it is water-based. So yeah, that is it. It just says paint it on there. It cracks as it dries, creating an eggshell cracking pattern. Shake well and apply directly from the bottle or with a brush. It takes 2 to 4 hours to dry depending on the application, and resulting different cracked sizes. Use a dryer to speed up the crackling process or just let dry naturally. So yeah, that's kind of interesting little product. And they've got different colors. So they have like a desert color. They have this one, which is like a gray. They've got like a brown. So yeah, kind of cool. Let's go back and we'll add a little bit of water. And we'll do a little bit of stirring on this. Kind of bring in, kind of thin that out a little bit. That's going to be a lot. And then we'll try to drag in a little bit of brown. So we got a little bit of a different color. And then we can, the paints mix well. I'm really happy with that. So, and then what we'll end up doing is we'll just take our little brush or our foam that we're going to use as a brush, and let's kind of do that. We'll start on the back, so that way we can just kind of maybe a little bit thicker. We can just get a little bit of color on here, a little bit. And then we can add some brown and some of the darker color. Just something a little bit different. Because it seems that makes it seem, it just kind of breaks it up a little bit. So, and then we'll go through and we'll try a little bit of a darker color. Dominoes, if you can create a track behind the boots, maybe that'll look like sliding to a stop. Just spitballing here. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Is that what I want? Yeah. No, that's not what I want. This is what I want. So I want it a little bit darker. Just a little bit of a different color on here. Just something a little different. The other thing I was thinking about doing, if I was going to do this again, would be to try like a I've seen some people do different, like on the base by itself that was primed, on the base that we have here, put in some other colors, kind of like oranges or fluorescent, kind of like a lava base type thing. And then I guess you should seal that, and or at least once that's dried, and then you could put the crackle on top of that. And so that way you would get like a fluorescent red or whatever fluorescent color underneath that. So we could do something like that as well. Not on this one, but maybe on the future one. Let's see, another thing that we could end up doing is we could get a little bit of grass. A Oh, there's my... Here's the other little model I did as I drop it. This is the one-page rules guy that we ended up doing, and he turned out pretty good. So I did a pretty decent job on him. We got some details on there. It's 32 millimeter. And yeah, that turned out really good. So that was the previous one that we ended up doing. I'm getting another camera. I gotta wait till I get my allowance again, but yeah, that turned out well. Dun, 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 dun. Muzzle front says wing details look sick. Yeah, they turned out pretty good. Maybe a little bit too dark, but I don't know, it looks decent. Maybe something on the inside of the black. Maybe you could do some brush highlighting, and that would bring out some details in like a gray color, and that would do some more detail. But that turned out really good. So yeah, turned out nice, and the base turned out good. I definitely like that guy. Muzzle front says, yeah, dark is fine. Yeah, highlights. Can't go wrong with highlights. This, I think we'll do a little touch of green on this base. And then that way, trying to pick out a, maybe I'll do this one here since it's a little bit bigger. And just always a little touch of grass. Always make things look a little better. So, and just some little details like that, of just adding in a little bit. We could even do, just for the hell of it, we'll throw another little piece, and I'll do some, this color, we'll do that on the back. And we'll just do a small one, like that one there. Kind of like that. So we've got a little bit of detail on there. Makes it pop a little bit. Somebody said that if you really want your model to look good, you do a good base. And if you can dress up your base so it looks really nice, you can have an okay looking Mini painted, but then if you add and do some good details, like what would be nice on here, that would be something to do. Print out some skulls or something, you know, put like a skull in the front there, laying on its side, and then that would add some more detail. And even though it's a decently painted miniature, with the little extra details on the base, it really takes it up another level. So, yeah. Alrighty. So that's what we got going on. I think now we've got enough. What is some other stuff we could end up doing? You know, I think that's pretty, except for that little piece right there. that little square right there. That's something we can end up changing, but there it is. I think it turned out well. We got some edge highlighting on there. We could go crazy with it, but for the most part, I think it did pretty good. And we could go through, well, I don't know if I want to do that. We can do a little bit of wash on here. Maybe we could do a wash, and that would help us. Of course, Artecho doesn't have any washes, but I don't know. Maybe we could try that red. I can see how that works. George says, howdy. Hey, just remembering the lesson from yesterday. Don't force the tiny hole. Yes, if the hole is tiny, just don't keep pushing. Yeah. You got to stretch the hole. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Let's leave that alone. This is supposedly a family-friendly channel. The occasional innuendo. Okay, we played around with that. And again, I'm pretty pleased with these Artecho paints. They work well. So with that said, what are you talking about again? I don't know. What are we talking about again? Printing models? That's what we're talking about. Don't squeeze too much or it'll explode. Right? That's what we're talking about. I wish this red was a little bit darker. So with that said, let's add some red to this and see how that turns out. Because it is type of kind of pinkish. Okay, so it's a little good. I think that'll work on that. It's kind of a pinkish red. I wish this is, I wonder if we could take some darker red, like this crimson red, and see if we can make something a little bit different. Just clean the hole. Let's see how this works. See if we can get some of this and then some of that. See if we can mix it together and get something that still has some of that pigment up here, because it's got like sparkles, almost like sparkles in it. and see if we can mix this stuff up with that darker red and see if we can get a richer color. Do a little bit of that. See how that goes. I mean, it dilutes out the shiny pigment stuff, but we can definitely get a little bit darker red. Richer, deeper red. So I think that'll work. Okay, so we got that, so that works. I was kind of interested in that to find out if the metallic paints would mix well with these other paints, and apparently they do. We're running out of ideas here. We could use a little bit of bronze. We could do a little bit of tiny detail work on the front. I was just seeing a couple things that we could end up doing there. So let's get a little bit of that. And we want to do this right on got like a hose connector. Do something like that. So that way it gives a little bit of a different and I'm thinking about doing that center piece on his belt in bronze, but I don't know if I want to do that because they still have the rivets. I don't know, maybe you just put a little circle in there. Just kind of just kind of a little dot there in the center, just to kind of tie in and bring in that color, a little bit of the color, because we got a lot of that on the back, as you see there. If it focus, damn it. I think that'll work. I think honestly we're almost done. I think I'm not sure what else we could do with this. I think we're done with the Artecho paints. I mean, there's really not much else that we could end up doing with this. I think it's worked out well. We could definitely paint miniatures with it, and it worked good. Worked out good. And even though we blew our load with the crackle paint, we did kind of redeem that that we see there. So add a little bit of color on there, and I think we got a good enough detail. I like the cracks in black, and I was actually hoping for that because the cracks in black would kind of work with this up here on the shoulder and the other black pieces, so it's kind of balanced. So, are these all metallics? No, The greens and stuff like that were this stuff here. We used sap green that we dry brushed on, and then we used, what was the other color? The monstral green. And we mixed these two together to do the edge highlighting. So that's these, and then the metallics we end up using were the, let me put this up. The metallics we ended up using were bronze, the silver, which is a really, it's like a titanium blue silver, really bright, and the black, which is kind of like a lead belcher type. That's what we ended up doing on the piece here, kind of like this faceplate that makes it a little bit darker. So that was black pearl. And then the rest of the stuff was the Artecho, the tube paints. So for like the black shoulder areas, we used the lamp black, which turns out it's a really nice black. I like that. And then of course, we also did the gold for like his visor. So yeah, turned out pretty good. I think it worked out well. Yeah, so it turned out good. Turned out good. Definitely good. Let me put these away because I'm trying to stay organized, clean and organized. That is the goal for 2026. Let's see. Faritha says, must be a nice shiny satin finish then. Yeah, we could do a satin finish on here. That would make that pop and seal everything in. So we'll have to pull out the airbrush, take this over to the airbrush station and do a satin varnish on it, seal everything in, and that should be good to go. So yeah, turned out good. Turned out good, I think. The silver, though, is really, really bright. And honestly, I'm wondering if I should do a wash on that. You can do a strong tone wash. Maybe that will, we can get a little bit of detail and it will kind of cut down on the shininess of it. Maybe we get some little details in the crevices. So let's try that. And Earth says, talking about the shiny, we could do the wash, which is exactly what we're going to end up doing. Oh yeah, that's going to be good. Great idea, great idea. Get in all the details. Yeah, that is good, good. I'll grim it up a little bit, kind of tone down that shininess. Yeah. So that is that's a lot better. I like that. It tones it down. And with that, we'll put some more on the gun. We're going to need more. But not like yesterday's more. That was, sometimes more is better, but not like yesterday. That'll work. Yeah, nice, nice, nice. Yeah, kind of grinds it up a little bit. And then, you know, we're gonna try, or not try. There is no try. Only do. We'll do a dark wash on the gun barrel so that way you can get some clear definition on those crevices and creases. Which will look good. So yeah, that works out good. The focus on this is just not good. But I think that is good. And then the claw ended up getting a little bit darker. So yeah, I think we are good. We are good. So I think we're going to call this guy good. I don't think there's much else we could do. I mean, if there was like we could have like the dead skull or a head ripped off or something, then maybe put some blood on some of these blades. But I don't know. I think this is good. Good enough for government work. So I'll definitely have to go through and see if I can find some decals, purchase some decals so that way, yeah. So if anybody knows any decals, that would be cool. Or you can get a bunch of them for cheap, because that's how I am. I'm cheap and easy. Then be much appreciated. Okay, so there it is. There it is. Yep, blends much better now. So yeah, a little bit of wash goes a long way. And I could even do wash on this because that's a little pristine, but let's do a little bit of let's do a flesh wash on that. I thought I was done. Because I want to keep with a little bit of warm on that back, on the color of some of this stuff. And we'll see how this turns out. I don't know. That doesn't really do much. It is... It's just kind of, yeah, imperceptible. I mean, you can see it a tiny bit, but it's not drastic. I don't think that's enough to where I would warrant. Yeah, I think it's good. I think we're good. Oh, we've got a tiny little light there. We could do or a green. We could do like a fluorescent green. If you have a good printer, you can print them on the paper, then use clear acrylic to paint them like paper mache. Yeah, that's an interesting thought. You can print your own decals on special paper. I'll be trying that myself on my die-cast car models. Wow. That would be cool. I'll have to look that up. If you got any links or anything, be sure to send them. The email, officialthevariedlife@gmail.com. Any good stuff like that would be cool. You know what? I'm going to do a little tiny bit of fluorescent. This is Citadel. And I'll just do, he's got a light. If you look at his helmet on the left side near the top, he's got like a little light emitting something or other. So I'm going to use this fluorescent. And we'll just put a tiny dot. Because I don't think there's anywhere else. The red turned out good on his forearm. Oh, I missed a little bit of bronze. I saw a piece that I missed. Okay, I think we're running out of water. And we're gonna have to get the geek glasses on. It was funny. I met a guy at the gym and he was like, so what do you do since you're retired? Because obviously I go to the gym and, you know, he knows that I was involved in firearms and teaching and all that stuff. So what do you do now? And it's like, I find myself humped over tiny 32 millimeter figures and painting them. Damn it. Seriously. That's just not gonna. It's just too watery. Seriously. Seriously? Really? That's what you're gonna do to me? Citadel. That is way too watery. Let's try. Speed paints aren't going to work. Maybe that. Jungle green. We're going to jump to the army paint. The expensive stuff. You print your own decals on special paper. This is the paper I bought for printed decals. This one is for a laser printer. You can also, for inkjet, you can respond with, I'm making stuff. Okay, it's not posted in the link. Oh, I think that's something that it won't let you do. I can post links. Yeah. This isn't fluorescent, but I think this is as close as we're gonna get. Hopefully this is a little bit more. No. You know what? I think red would be good. Do a bright red and slaughter red, which is really good. So we'll just do speed paint slaughter red. Alrighty. This is going to be it. Yeah. So tiny, tiny imperceptible dot of red. I really wish the focus on that would be better. Focus. Super tiny. Okay, maybe I'll just use a little bit more on here too. Just put that in the center. Okay, I think we're done. I think we're done, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to call this good. Aside from doing some varnish, I think this is good. So it turned out pretty nice. Yeah, not bad. Even though we did have some issues with this guy, with the base and everything, I think it turned out all right. And yeah. So the challenge of can you paint miniatures with Artecho paints, I think we did well. It turned out good. So we did some edge highlighting on there. We got some different colors. We got some washes. We did metallics. We did the regular colors with the tube paints. And I just wish they had a deeper red for the metallic. So if not, the product description is 20 sheets water slide decal paper, laser clear. Ed Bennett says true work of art. Why, thank you. I don't know about true work of art. We did pretty decent. I think we did okay. But I appreciate the compliment. It's just paint and details. Just adding little details more and more, and it works out pretty good. This looks like something you could buy in a store for big money. Really nice. That's what my daughter's been saying. She was telling me that she's seen the stuff that I painted, and she's shown me stuff that's for sale, and the stuff that I've done is way better. And people are making some serious money doing that. But I don't know. That's a good compliment. Alrighty then. Let's get back to the chair and let's take a look at some of this stuff. Okay, so there we have it. We ended up doing our thing. Okay, let's check and see. Jamino says 20 sheets of water slide decal paper, laser clear, 8.5 by 11, water slide transfer paper, printable for tumblers, ceramics, plastic, glass. Okay, let's see if we can copy the text. And we'll take it into the Amazon. And we'll see what pops up. Okay. True work of art. Thank you. So kind. Ferris says, if you ever have too many, you could probably sell the ones you no longer want. That's true. That's true. My daughter's like, oh, you ought to paint a bunch of figures and sell them. And it's like, I don't know. That's definitely an idea. Somebody was like, oh, you ought to paint an army. And I'm like, oh, that big, long project of doing the same stuff, I don't know. I mean, I probably could. But we don't want the Jaminos. We got decal paper. Clear. So So there's a bunch of different stuff. Laser. Or Jamina says I could do a giveaway to bring more subs. Yeah, that's true. Veritha says, I wouldn't paint them to sell them unless I had to, because I wouldn't want to feel like this is a job. But if I had some left over and I no longer want them, I'd sell them. Yeah. And giveaway thing, that could be good. But it's like I do one-offs. You know, I'll get interested in something and I'll paint something, and then it's like, you know, and then I move on to something else. I don't know, but maybe I should do that. You know, I could do like a bigger one, like the Ivor one. We've got that one there. So I don't know, something like that we could see, and then do a giveaway. So that would be something. Let's see. So anyway, on these things here, so these decal papers, one-offs are even better. You should start signing them underneath. Do a little signature on there. Yeah, maybe I can do that. Jamino says the one you have at 12:59 is the one that I have. Okay, so 12:59. 12:49. 12:59. So that one there. And that's for a laser printer. I have a regular printer. Inkjet. Oh, okay. Let's take a look at that. Water slide, paper instructions, glossy printing service, select thick paper. Oh, interesting. Compatible with laser printer, recommended print setting. Okay. So you do that, but then there's this one over here for inkjet. That's not bad as interesting. Yeah, the inkjet option. Let's see how this looks. So set it to photo. Mirror side is the printing surface. Oh, you know how that's going to work. Which side of the paper goes up in the printer when you put it. Yeah, that's like setting the time on your VCR from back in the day. Let the ink dry by oven or hair dryer. Bake for 5 minutes in an oven temperature about 80 degrees or dry naturally for 10 minutes. Okay. Spray the gloss oil, auto spray paint, transparent auto spray paint sold in paint shop on the patterned surface uniformly. After drying, repeat spray, even coat of the acrylic spray over the image. So it's an acrylic, 1 to 2 times. So it's like an acrylic varnish. Cut along the pattern, soak for 30-60 seconds, pull it off, boom. Bake in oven or temperature dry for 1 to 3 days. Interesting. Mirror side is the printing side. Perfectly transparent, no visible edges. That is some cool stuff. I'm going to add that to my list. To the list of things. I just need to find some cool pictures, and that would be good. It's cool. That's very interesting. I like that. That'd be neat. Instead of having to pay a bunch of, because that's 20 sheets for $11 basically. That's not bad. And think of all the pictures you could put on an 8.5 by 11. That would be huge. You could do a ton of stuff on that. Ferris said he started signing my work a while ago and first thought this is weird, but it does really give it something special. Hard to explain. Yeah, I might do that. Doing like a gold Sharpie on the bottom or something. Yamano says, yeah, the inkjet needs more prep because inks are water soluble, not so for the laser. So really it just ends up with a regular printer, inkjet printer. You print it onto the paper, I guess let that dry, and then you go over with a varnish that would protect it. So that way when it's water soluble, it locks the, okay, gotcha. Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, the inkjet needle needs more prep because the inks are water soluble. So yeah, so kind of like a varnish thing that you end up doing when you seal up your minis or your paint jobs with varnish. You could do like a satin or a matte or a high gloss. I would probably do a satin, I think. But yeah, cool. That is a good idea. Thank you very much for that. Warhammer decals for miniatures. So let's see how crazy the prices are for Warhammer. Yes, thank you very much. You are the man. You've won the internet for today, at least according to me. Let's take a look at some of how much it costs for Warhammer decals on an 8.5 piece of paper. I'm sure it's going to be massively expensive. And yes, okay. There's one. Blood Raven Icons, 4100, 1/100 scale, Space Marine insignia. 1190. So yeah, we get that there, and that's generic branding. Water slide decals. It doesn't say how big it is, but somebody's cranking this out on an inkjet printer probably, or a laser printer. Measurements. Let's see if it's got measurements. One, details. It doesn't say. Materials and care. I'm going to say it's like 8.5 by 11. There's no reviews or anything on that, but almost $12 for a 8.5 by 11 page is what I'm going to say. Here's another one here, Warhammer Dwarfen. Let's see if this is authorized Warhammer. $40 a day. What? $40.98 for that, for an 8.5 by 11. Wow, that is insane. Let's see. Medium. That is crazy. That is an insane price. Of course, there's no reviews, but they want $41 for an 8.5, 11 page of decals. I mean, granted, they're cool decals, but holy crow. That is insane. There's some other ones we got on here. Do we got any other crazy decals? Thankfully, no. I bet you if you went on the Warhammer page, you could get some insane stuff. I don't think we got anything. That's just crazy money. That is crazy insane. Maybe I need to get into the decal business. Yeah. 20 cents a decal. Yeah, spicy. Spicy. It's like printing money. It's like printer ink. That's expensive too. That is crazy. Veritha says, I mean, they have the correct scale, but that's a worse ripoff than printer ink. Yeah. Have you ever done the math on printer ink and gold and silver? Of course, gold's like 4,500 an ounce. Silver's like, what, 80 something an ounce? Holy crow. Oh, man. Silver, the price of silver is insane these days. Let's see, what else do we got going on? Yeah, just, Oh, here's something that's kind of interesting here in Korea. Jamino says, I want in as their business partner. Here's talking about business and investing in things that will likely go up, kind of like our corrupt politicians do. You know, they see legislation and, you know, things that are going to be passed that will either bring a stock down or take the stock up. So basically, it's insider information that we, the people whom those politicians are supposed to represent, would have access to, but we don't. And if we did, we could get in trouble for it. But when they do it and they profit and they buy and sell stock, they don't get in trouble for it. So yeah, I have a big problem with that. But here in Korea, here's an interesting thing, and I want you to see this. This is, and I want to get your opinion on this. So here it is. This here, should public health systems pay for hair loss treatments? The proposal reflects changing attitudes towards men's mental health, an area historically overlooked. It also exposes how deeply appearance and self-worth are intertwined in cultures with intense academic and professional competition. Now, the picture of this guy here is the president of Korea. So what he has come out and said is South Korean president wants public health care to cover hair loss treatment for male pattern baldness, claiming it's a matter of survival for young men. It's a matter of survival. I don't know if that's like a matter of survival because, I mean, seriously, really? And where'd the picture go? I did the picture. Where did the picture go? Screenshots, there's that. Hold on here. What is going on? This is having such an odd thing. Okay, let's try it this way. Do one more. I want to get this picture up. I'll see if we can drag this into, and it doesn't. Seriously. Why is this not working? Let me go back to desktop. Boom. We'll go back here. Okay, it must be a glitch in the matrix. That's all I can say. It is a glitch in the matrix. Yeah, for those of you, that's my cuckoo. Okay. So the whole thing here is that the Korean president came out and he says, hey, male pattern baldness is hard. It's for men. Men, it's a matter of survival for men. And here in Korea, we have national health care, which is really good because it's something that the United States doesn't have. There's like 30 countries in the world that have national health care, 30 or 35, something like that. But there's a lot of them that are highly successful. So everybody has health care. As a visa holder here in Korea, longtime visa holder, we're required to have health care. So I either have the choice of getting national health care insurance through the Korean government, or I can get some insurance on my own as long as it meets the standards of basic Korean healthcare insurance levels, care, whatever. Since mine does, I use that in lieu. But the thing is that it doesn't, currently the system doesn't treat male pattern baldness of, getting the, finasteride and whatever other stuff that you use for your hair to get your hair back. That's not covered because it's not a life-saving thing. So it's cosmetic surgery. Now, if it's because of disease, congenital defect, injury, facial scars, kind of goes along with that, then sometimes it can be assigned to you or you can get partial payment for that. The problem is in Korea, you can get partial payment, but you have to be like disfigured or whatever. So it's like, okay, I get that. But now he wants to use taxpayer money to treat for just, Rogaine and whatever, our health insurance is going to pay for this. And it's like, the problem is the sustainability of the Korean national health insurance is already seeing problems. They're spending more than what they're bringing in. So they're going to have to raise taxes again. And now if this will open the floodgates, and anybody who thinks that, or has a low self-esteem, or thinks, I think I'm losing a little bit of hair, I better get my doctor to prescribe it, maybe this is the inside information that we need, and I should invest in companies that, have these treatments here in Korea. But really, is that a good way to use taxpayer money? I mean, it's already the Korean National Health Insurance is spending more than what it's bringing in, and now you just want to treat men because it's a matter of survival. Well, what about women who have baldness issues? Isn't that a matter of survival for them? No, apparently not. It's, who cares about equality? It's just like, how do you, yeah. Jamino says, I personally think they should tax ugly people in public. Oh, ouch. I might have to pay a lot on that. I don't know if I like it. Someone's family member has a hair transplant clinic. Could absolutely be. I mean, that's, but I just don't think it's a wise move. I don't think it's fiscally responsible. It's like if you have your own personal budget, and you're doing your budget, and it's like, I get X amount of dollars in, and I'm trying to keep the balanced budget, or at least try to stay in the black so I can save some money. That's generally what you should do as a good person. But you're spending more, so you're going into debt, and then now you think, this is a good idea, let's spend even more, because it's like, it's not good. And we have a super age population, so more and more money is going out than coming in for the national health insurance because seniors have more medical problems. And so when the president ends up, coming and saying, hey, hair treatment for all the men. Well, I find that's not a good thing in my opinion, because now it seems like he just wants good ratings. He's not being fiscally responsible, which is one of the things that he talks about doing. And so it's like, but you said, and then there's this. It just doesn't make sense. Let's see. George says, I don't believe the public should be on the hook for a cosmetic procedure outside of reconstruction or for children. Yeah, I mean, and even within the Korean National Health Insurance, there are things for that. But he's talking about just hair treatment for men. Just jump on it. Yeah, it's totally cosmetic. It's definitely that. Ferris says, if this passes, I'm coming over and we're opening up a business. You do the plucking, I'll do the reinsertions. We'll split the profits 50-50. And here's the thing. You have taxpayer money. There's going to be raises in the future anyway, because they're spending more than what they're currently bringing in right now. So if you do this, you're going to go further and further in debt. You're doing it so that people like you and you get high approval ratings, but you're kicking the can down the road for all taxpayers in the future, because you're going to have to raise rates again. And again, the whole thing about it just falls apart. It's not a good fiscal use of money. And then there's the equality issue, which Korea is, it's heavily male-centered, which has been a thing. And in a lot of countries, it was a thing. And they're getting better and better, just like other countries. But to say, this is a matter of survival for men, young men, but not women, so men rank a little bit higher than women, yeah, that's probably not a good look. It's not a good look. And if you do this as a cosmetic procedure and you say that this is a matter of survival, well, let's flip the script. Well, what about breast implants? What about breast reduction surgery on the other side of the aisle? You're catering to the men. Are we going to cater to the women as well? I mean, everybody knows that the beautiful people, get higher paychecks. They're hired better than ugly people. I know that. That's why I joined the Army. They're like, hey, doesn't matter if you're ugly. Come on in. Let's do this. And it's okay. I'll do that. But yeah, it's not good, because then it's like, well, what about nose jobs? And we're not talking reconstructive surgery after an accident. We're just nose jobs for the hell of it, or eyelid surgery, rhinoplasty, whatever it is. What next step? Penile implants. It's a matter of survival. All of these things you can claim are a matter of survival, but that's not the point. The point is that you have a system that is going in debt, and you're putting it further in debt, and you're showing your ass because you're only catering to men. But again, that's beside the point, because you said you're going to be fiscally responsible. I don't think this is being fiscally responsible. I just don't think this is the way to go. I don't know. What do you all think? And there's a lot of people. I mean, some of the comments are a matter of survival. How is that? Do women get treatment for hair? Some lady, she brings up and says, well, what about breast enhancement, vaginal repair, LASIK surgery, nose jobs, Botox, facelifts, tummy tucks? Are those also going to be covered in future? Let's just let everybody do everything they want. Yeah, what about women? What about this? Let's see. Somebody says they were bald for over a decade and definitely surviving. Oh, man. And the fact is, you're going to get some people that are going to have male pattern baldness. They're going to lose their hair. And it doesn't matter what treatments you get. It's not 100% guarantee. So again, in that aspect, is this really life-threatening that you need to continue doing this, even though you're not going to get results? You're just going to hold on to hope, and you're just going to keep, the finasteride and the Rogaine and whatever else that you end up doing, massaging that in, and the little needling thing and whatever, having insurance pay for all that. You're going to have people that are not going to get results. It's just a fact of life. So you're throwing money down a hole. Is that a good use of that money? And other people brought up, they said, should healthcare cover tampons and other feminine necessities? And then yet some people ended up saying, well, cosmetic surgery is normal. The system is very different in Korea than it is in the United States. Seriously, this got me started. And so this Korean lady says this, oh, we're different here in Korea. We have cosmetic surgery. There's cosmetic surgery in the United States. I don't know if you know this, but there's cosmetic surgery in the United States and Korea. The majority of cosmetic surgery in the United States, you pay out of pocket. It's not covered by insurance unless it's a severe deformity, injury, or, whatever it is. You got hit in the face with a baseball bat multiple times. You can get cosmetic surgery for that. But anything aside from that, cosmetic surgery, you pay out of pocket. She says it's different here in Korea. I live in Korea. It is not different. Matter of fact, it's pretty much the same. You can get partial payment for cosmetic surgeries if you have become severely disfigured through accident or, genetic defect or tumors or whatever it is. So you can get that. But what she's talking about here is that cosmetic surgery is different here in Korea. And no, it's not. I've read the Korean National Health Insurance rules, and when it comes to those things, it's not different. It's pretty much on par with what the United States has. So to take this huge step and say, we need to fund this, makes no sense whatsoever. I don't know. Faritha says, sounds to me like a distraction, honestly. Is something else about to pass or on the news? Exactly. Honestly, I don't think it's something else that's going to pass. I think it's a grab for ratings. And that if we have bread and circuses for the masses, people will love the person that brings them bread and circuses. and the ratings go up. So it'll be like a feather in their cap. Oh, look, he had the highest approval rating among men who are balding. Okay, which will affect the overall approval rating. And, oh, that's a good idea, because men are like, yeah, if I lose my hair, yeah, that's a good idea. I think we should do that. It's just not good. Let's see. Any bets on someone will be skimming money off the top? Whoever owns the clinics or the medications, and we're talking big pharma and stuff like that, but you can get this stuff over the counter. This makes it sound that this matter of survival for young men, that they must get treatment for hair loss, is somehow currently unavailable, or it is so expensive here in Korea that you can't afford it. But you can. It is super cheap here. It is so cheap. You can go to the farm, and the thing is, you don't need to see a doctor. You can get the Rogaine and the whatever it is. The wife got it. She's getting older, and she's doing preemptive stuff. To keep her hair, and I'm trying it or whatever. It's like, I don't really care. But yeah, you go to the local Korean pharmacy, hey, I want 3 or 4 tubes of that, and you're good for, 3-4 months, or use 1 tube a month or whatever. Massage it in. I forget the name of it. But it's cheap. It is dirt cheap here in Korea. So it's not like, oh, men who are balding, it's a life or death situation because I can't afford 4,000 or 6,000 won to pay. I don't have that kind of money on me to pay for, this treatment. Which 6,000 won, if we pull that up, and the exchange rate is 14.55, that's like $4, $4.12. It's a matter of survival because I can't afford $4.12 in a local pharmacy out of pocket. Can't do it. I'm gonna die this is the thing that's gonna keep me from dying. Is because if it's either a choice of food or getting my hair treatment, the bills, the utilities being turned off, or hair treatment. No, it's $4 or $5. Yeah, it's honestly, it is for approval ratings, and I don't know. It is what it is. What do you do? Let me see if I can find that other thing. That was. Swedish Forge. Hey, what's up, dude? What's up, bro? I just don't get it. I just don't get the whole thing of using insurance money, health insurance money, raising taxes. You're going to raise taxes on your health insurance for this country anyway. The national health care tax is going to go up anyway. But now you want to add this, and it's going to raise it even more, and you're going to spend more than what's being taken in. I don't think that's fiscally responsible. Swedish Ford says, good here and you. Oh, we're doing good. We're doing good. We painted our Mini, and matter of fact, I don't know if this camera does really good on the zoom, but we finished up this guy. As you can see there, I mean, it's not crystal clear, but we did a good job on him. And despite the explosion that we had, still turned out good. And we got some good details in there. Again, I apologize for the non-focusing camera, but it turned out good. We got the good base on there. We got some crackle despite the crackle explosion thing. Yeah, we did fairly well on that. So we're doing that. Now we're just kind of ranting and raving about politics and how the thing up over here, national health care, the president wants to male pattern baldness, wants health care to pay for that. And it doesn't really make sense because it's like it's for men, but it's not for women. And so where's the equality in that? And then it's like, This is health insurance. This isn't cosmetic insurance, and it's a slippery slope. Is it fiscally responsible? And like other people pointed out, should we start paying for breast implants or eyelid surgery or nose jobs, or, let's do some jaw shaping so that I look a little bit more, let's get rid of the little turkey neck thing I got and get a facelift or a tummy tuck. What about Brazilian, butt jobs? BBLs. Why don't we have, that's a matter of survival. No, it's not. And then here's the thing is that I don't think a lot of people are thinking about is like, okay, you're going to spend all this money for hair loss. Wouldn't the money be better spent for men, women, children, and babies who have cancer? We're not talking about raising those things and the treatment so people don't have to pay as much. I mean, a lot of the Korean health insurance is a great system. But seriously, really? We're gonna pay for Rogaine and stuff like that, and then we're just gonna leave the levels of cancer care for women, children, babies, and men and boys really? What about leukemia? What about the number of other diseases that are, diabetics and, dialysis, that whole thing that we've got going on? Why don't we use that money for hair loss that you're proposing to use and put that into things that are actually life-saving? I don't know. What about treating people, increasing or decreasing the amount that it costs to give people their eyesight and cataracts and so on and so forth? I don't know. No, but let's run with the hair products. Hair products for men. I just think that's a bad idea. Bad idea. I bet the people that have cancer are like, yeah, oh joy. You lose your hair when you have cancer treatment with chemo, but you're going to get that anyway because that's one of the partial payments is because of that disease of cancer that you're going to get that anyway. But again, the system is spending more than it takes in. So I think this is purely just an approval rating type of thing. So and a lot of people here in Korea don't like it. There's some that do, but obviously they don't care about the budget. They don't care about taxes and things like that. George says, remember, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Yes, obviously. It's like, interesting things here in Korea, as there are with anything else in other countries, the United States. I mean, I'm an American citizen and I'm living here. It's good. I enjoy it. I love being in Korea. We're comfortable. I'm not into K-drama. I'm not into K-pop at all. I think there's one or two songs from Blackpink that I have on my workout gym playlist, and that's it. So that's the extent of my K-popness. The whole BTS ARMY thing, I mean, it's great that other people enjoy it. That's just not my cup of tea. And that's fine. But I'm not one of those people who's like so enamored with Korea that everything Korea just fills me with joy. I wonder about people like that. Or any person that goes to any other country and is like, oh, everything that Germany does is awesome and incredible. Oh, I can't wait to live there. Everything, the Lederhosen, the bratwurst, the this, the that, the on-time train schedules. Oh, I just love it. Everything that they do, everything German is awesome. Or everything that is Swedish is incredible. I can't wait. Oh, I have a Swedish pen, or I have a Spanish pen, or I don't get that at all. More often than not, people that are super enamored or over enamored with those things, I've seen a lot of people crash and burn. I've seen people during my time here in Korea and while I was in the military, people that got onto this Korea kick is, oh, I want to live in Korea, blah, blah, blah. I've seen English teachers come to Korea to teach English because everything that's Korean is just so incredible. Oh, it is incredible. And yet, a year down the road, reality sets in, and that whole incredibleness of the country that they live in, whether it's Korea or some other foreign country, that starts to wear off. And it's like, now they get frustrated. Now reality rears its ugly head, and it's like, yeah, there's real life here in foreign countries, and it's not all going to be, roses and puppy dogs and, rainbows and all that stuff. Reality is going to set in, and it does. I love Uni. Cool. Says, oh man, I had a Swedish pen once. Greatest thing ever. You can't beat it. That attitude is great for holidays, not great for migration. I agree. There was a video on, let's get rid of this sign here. I saw a video on social media, this lady who left the United States and she went to Saudi Arabia. She ended up meeting a guy from Saudi Arabia and they supposedly fell in love, and then she went and visited there and stuff, and then eventually got married, and everything was, her beginning videos, it was on YouTube, everything in Saudi Arabia was awesome and incredible. Everything. I mean, the sand, the desert, the sky, the roads, the shopping, everything was like over the top crazy. And it's like, she's gonna crash and burn hard. She's, the end all be all of life was her being in Saudi Arabia. And then reality struck, the honeymoon period wore off, and she found out that she didn't have as many rights as a woman in Saudi Arabia that she had in the United States. Who knew? So there's things that she couldn't do and things that were frowned upon, and then her videos got to the point of where she complained a little bit, and then complained a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and a little bit more, until eventually she was basically disgusted with it. And she really was alone. So the newness of being in a new place was awesome. It's exciting, but it wears off. It's kind of like getting a job at an amusement park, is what I kind of see this. You go to an amusement park and it's like, ooh, wow, oh, this is awesome. I would love to work here. And then you get a job there, and then you're like, ooh, wow, yeah, this is so cool. Yeah, and then it's like, oh, really? That's what we're doing? And what? There's still drama here? Like working at Disneyland. I worked at an amusement park, and it was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. It's going to be working at an amusement park. Everybody's happy, right? Wrong. It's just like, yeah. Yeah, oof, uh-oh. Faritha says, Saudi Arabia is one of the few countries I'll never step foot into. Yeah, I won't go there. My next door neighbor is from there. And I'm not saying that people from Saudi Arabia are bad. All I'm saying is I don't have there's nothing nothing draws me to Saudi Arabia on a number of levels. It's just not for me, not my cup of tea. I've met people from Saudi Arabia and stuff like that. It's just like, yeah, no thank you. Free trip to Saudi Arabia? No. Uni says, the guy that trained me as a barista lived there for 10 years. He ran the Ferrari Cafe, Lamborghini maybe, and said it was fine, but his wife couldn't get a job. Yeah, there's some people that I've met from Saudi Arabia that came to the United States and became citizens, and their stories were like, yeah, it's like an amusement park. When you actually live there, if you're stinking, filthy rich beyond imagination, you can do whatever you want. But this person ended up saying that it was like a hollow facade. He said it reminded him of North Korea. And we have cities, towns that you can see from South Korea. You can see these North Korean cities. They built up and they're big and they're huge. And it's like, oh, look at how advanced they are. But then you find out that those buildings are facades. And the reality is very different. So yeah, George says that him and his family were happy to leave. Yeah. And those are the people that I met, that they were happy to leave. Now, they were lower on the income scale. One of them was a taxi driver. Another guy was working in a mall that I met in California. I've met a couple others, but working class people like you and me, go somewhere, get a better job, take care of your family, get your kids a good education, assimilate into the country that you're going to, because it offers so many more opportunities. I get that. Those are the people, the normal people. But they were saying that, yeah, it's not so normal. So Ferrith says it's all fun and dandy when you encounter a law that is there because of religious reasons, then it gets uncomfortable real quick. And especially when those laws are not enforced equally. So there's a lot of that going around as well. And it's very one-sided, a very patriarchal society, and the application of those laws, like I said, the one lady that she went there, and eventually she ended up getting divorced and came back to the United States. But you can see the progression of her videos is, Saudi Arabia is the most incredible place in the world. And then it got to the point of where it's like, I hate this place, and then she went back to the States. And it's like, she was more enamored. I think she did it because she wanted the clicks and the views, and she thought that a change of place or location would solve her problems. If you can't solve the problems where you are with you as a person, you're probably they're not going to be solved by moving to another country. That's just a fact. I've talked to a number of other expats, and being an expat myself, being here in Korea, me and my wife, and we've met other couples like us who have come to Korea, sold everything, and live in Korea. They come to the same conclusion. Moving to another country is not going to solve your problems that you have, for the most part. I mean, yeah, you might have less expenses to pay. That was true for us. We're paying half of what we were paying in the United States. But I'm talking about personal problems that you have. Those things are not going to be fixed by moving to another country. Probably 98% of the time. I'll leave a little bit of wiggle room there. I don't want to be an absolutist and say, because that would be wrong. Anybody that says absolutes, I absolutely know this for a fact. That makes the red flag comes up. Ferrith says it's all fun and dandy until you encounter the law. Yeah, here it is. You have YouTubers in Germany that went to Dubai because it's so much better than blah, blah, blah. Now one of them is facing life in prison because he had drugs on him. Ooh. Yeah, Dubai don't play with drugs. Holy crow. It's not like the United States at all. There's places in the States where it's legalized. Hell, California gives away drugs and drug paraphernalia. Vaping and all that stuff. There's countries where vaping is illegal. So, yeah, I would never go to Dubai. That's just... Swedish Ford says, I have to say that the USA is a no-go zone now over what is happening there. Yeah, I wouldn't go to the places where they're having, the demonstrations and all that stuff. But the United States is huge. You got 350, 60 million people in the United States. It is a huge place. It takes, 10 days to drive across the United States if you're doing the speed limit or whatever. There's a lot of places that you could go visit in the United States that are having zero problems like that. And again, I don't know. If you're a good person, be a good person. That's all you got to do. Uni says, I'm a libertarian generally, but there's clearly an effect mass drug use has on society. Yeah. Oh, I've seen that. People should be able to do what they want, but they should want to do the best by people. That sums it up right there. That's great. Yeah. That is actually it. Hack comes on board and said, is Saudi Arabia is opening up. Singapore is very strict on drug use. And honestly, when I look at the issue it caused in the US and Canada, I can understand why their stance is being so strict. I am right there with you. And I have personal experience with this. In Colorado, for those of you who don't know, I used to come from Colorado. I was born there, lived there. I did the Army thing, came back, and eventually came back to Colorado, lived there until I ended up, coming over here to Korea to retire. I was in Colorado before they legalized marijuana. And they were, early on, they were kind of hard on drugs. Now, the problem with Colorado, specifically Pueblo, Colorado Springs, and Denver, is it's a main highway route going east and west and north and south. It's a central hub, so you're going to get a lot of drugs going in and out and through Colorado. But drugs were illegal. And then somebody came up with a great idea of, hey, let's legalize marijuana. Now, in my capacity of working in Colorado, also included law enforcement and working in the prison systems. So, yeah, legalizing weed, that was a thing. They said, hey, we're going to legalize weed. Even though it's federally against the law, we're going to legalize weed. And when I saw that, I was like, do I think if you want to smoke weed, go ahead and do it. I don't think it should be legalized. And here's the problem. Before Colorado legalized weed, we had a certain level of illegal drug use within the state, just like every other state. It was kind of low. It was there, maybe a little bit higher because, again, it's the crossroads for, going throughout the United States. So there's that. But when they legalized marijuana, homelessness increased exponentially because the people where the states that they lived in, it wasn't legal. All those people came to Colorado, and a lot of these people were drug users and so on and so forth. So they're like, hey, legalize drugs, boom, we'll go to Colorado. And then we had a high spike in crimes, property crimes, break-ins, burglaries, so on and so forth. Homelessness increased, crime increased, and then, of course, when that increases, that's going to put a strain on the prison system, the justice system, and everything else that you got going on. There's places in Colorado where, you could walk with no threat whatsoever. You would feel safe walking around. Unfortunately, because of the legalization of marijuana, it brought about a lot of people who don't care about other people. They will rob you. They will beat you. And then, of course, if you have the people that came for the marijuana, you also have people that are like, I've got a meth addiction. I have some other addiction. Hey, if I go to that state, at least I could smoke the dope and I'll be good to go. But to fund that in lieu of the other drugs that they used to do, they resort to crime. And again, not only did that increase, but it also increased the amount of welfare that was being doled out of people that came just for the drugs. And so this rippled out through the entire state of Colorado. Crime increased, problems increased, and that, again, it put a strain on the entire state. Taxes went up, the whole 9 yards. It was just really, really rough. Hacks 37 says, I'm here for legal weed and psychedelics, but the whole fentanyl and opioids are destroying lives. And like I said, I think there's a place for medical marijuana in treatment. It's kind of limited. Psychedelics and mushrooms, there's a whole, and I'm not talking like, I'm just going to go get psychedelics because I have a mental problem. I'm talking about depression, anxiety, severe depression, and so on and so forth. There's actually scientific studies, meta-analysis showing how, like mushrooms and those things, have actually treated depression and have better results than some medications. So I'm all for that. But yeah, the whole thing with that is you crack the door open and you think you're going to have law-abiding citizens that are just going to smoke a joint on the weekend. That's not the people that are coming to the state to do that. And again, the homelessness problem, the crime problem, all of that kind of exploded. Hack says that he's monitoring closely Iran and Venezuela. Swedish Forge says drugs start with weed and goes to heavier drugs in most cases. The gateway drug, I'm actually working in prisons for over 11 years. I can actually attest to that. And I've had inmates tell me that. A number of inmates tell me that. And especially after they legalized marijuana, and then we started getting more criminals. And to go to prison, you have to do some serious stuff. To go to a state prison, you have to do some serious stuff. And over the years, after they legalized marijuana, of course, getting in touch and talking with inmates and getting to know them and their situations, I can definitely say that, yeah, it is not good for a society because of the people it brings. And yeah, it just leads to other things as well. Maybe not 100% of the time, because there are responsible adults. Just like you have adults that will drink alcohol on the weekends. They're not involved in drunk driving. They're not involved in, beating their wife and kids or the dog. They drink responsibly. Now, I think there's people that can do marijuana responsibly. But overall, that's a very small population. So, yeah. It's a slippery slope. And then you get to the place where, exactly, if we're going to legalize marijuana, then why don't we just legalize drugs? Kind of like California. California's giving out drugs or giving out drug paraphernalia. You can't have plastic straws, but we're going to give away syringes and needles and drug paraphernalia that are all made of plastic that are littering up California. It's insane. I have family that live in California, and they're just like, yeah, you outlawed straws because straws are bad, plastic straws are bad for whatever, turtles or the environment, but then you're just giving away syringes that are all made of plastic, and there's tons of them everywhere. It's just crazy. Going back to Venezuela, Hack says he's reading a report from a Venezuelan soldier. Apparently they use some pretty high-tech equipment to capture Maduro. Highly recommend you reading it. Yeah, I've heard about that. And you have like the interesting stuff. What was the one where it had the big like giant antenna and it microwaves and stuff like that, and to where it's like, it's hot and burning. It doesn't hot and burn because you leave, crowd dispersion and stuff like that. I probably wouldn't doubt that. Inject your Pepsi for the environment. Ferrithus pops up and says, then why aren't we banning alcohol? I mean, it's more addictive than marijuana. It causes tons of deaths every year, destroys family, leads to a lot of ER visits, which it does, but not to the extent of what we see with other drugs. And again, I think there's I remember growing up in the United States, alcohol wasn't sold on Sunday, and there wasn't really a big thing with alcohol. And then later it got worse and worse. So I think what we ended up seeing, at least in my opinion, is you had people that were responsible with alcohol in the beginning, and then it kind of got worse. But when drugs came on to the scene, it was even a worse problem. So I think it comes down to responsibility level. If you're a responsible adult and you can drink a beer, whatever, wine, whiskey, whatever it is, you don't get in trouble, you don't beat your family, you don't get any DUIs, you don't break into stores and steal stuff. There's a lot of good people like that. And I think there's a lot of good people like that with marijuana. I've met a number of them. Of course, being in Colorado, you're going to run into some people. But seeing that from a perspective of law enforcement and working in prisons, holy crow. There is definitely a spike in crime after they legalized marijuana that has been unparalleled. So should they outlaw alcohol? I don't think so. Maybe they should regulate it a little bit more. I don't know. There's some states where it ends up on your driver's license where you could have something on there saying no alcohol, because you've had enough crimes with that involved alcohol and abusing alcohol, you shouldn't be able to buy it. So I think there needs to be a more pointed system in which we can regulate these things and to keep people from getting 10 or 12 DUIs or, having a DUI and killing somebody or, whatever it is. With marijuana, the classification of it being such a hard narcotic by the federal government, I think that's overstepping the bounds. But then I've seen people and veterans specifically getting help with medical marijuana as a means to treat PTSD. So I get that part of it. And then, of course, there's also the marijuana oils and stuff for treating like Parkinson's and other things, which is amazing, incredibly amazing. Not only for people, but, pets and dogs as well. So on that side, I'm all for that. People have left other states where medical marijuana oil has been totally illegal. And so people moved to Colorado because they were able to get that. I don't know. I don't have an answer. I think the only thing that I can say is be a responsible person. And don't do things that infringe upon the rights of other people or hurt them or kill them through the actions or the things that you take or do. That's all. Ferrith says, I have family members and friends that are smoking weed. Nobody overdosed. Nobody died. Nobody tried to fight someone. Alcohol. My uncle died. I know alcoholics. Every time I go out and get drunk and fight. I've seen that too. But then I know a number of people that consume alcohol that never had problems with that. There's some people that will succumb to addiction or they have problems that they can't deal with, so they get addicted on certain things, whether it's alcohol, drugs, marijuana, whatever it is. So I have seen people die from drug use. I've seen people that told me, people that were inmates in prison that told many of them, numerous, where they started with marijuana and that led to other drugs. And of course, it was also alcohol as well. And then it got to meth, and then it got to heroin, and then it got to other things. And then it snowballed, and those people ended up in prison. And some of those people that I knew for years ended up dying in prison. And people were like, this one guy I knew, he had so many years, he was never going to get out of prison. But he didn't want to get out of prison because he has such a problem with addiction, with marijuana, with drugs, with alcohol, all of those things. He said, it doesn't matter. He says, if I couldn't get alcohol, it would be some other form of drugs. If I couldn't get marijuana, I would do this or that. But he has such a problem with addiction, he's actually happy to be in prison. But he passed away in prison. He's an older gentleman too, pretty smart. Let's see, where did we go up? Swedish Ford says, I have 7 friends who have died from drugs. So sad because they were good people before they started doing drugs. I know, that's sad. There's some good friends that I've had growing up in school that, they're gone. My daughter is a doctor, and she sees the effects of, drug use, illegal drug use, and then even the problems with legal drug use. There's problems with those. So it's not such a cut and dried thing. So, trying to make a statement of, this should be totally banned, there's always exceptions to the rule. Mushrooms and psychedelics, they should all be banned and all should be illegal. Well, what about the studies that show that it helps with depression and PTSD, and to the point of where it's even healing people from depression? That's huge. I don't see that much. Marijuana doesn't. The problem is with marijuana, when you smoke marijuana, is you're still sucking smoke into your lungs, and that's bad for your lungs. A number of doctors have pointed that out, that chronic smokers of marijuana, even though they're taking it for medical reasons, is probably not a real good delivery system because of the damage that it puts on your lungs. And being in Colorado, suddenly everybody has a condition that requires marijuana. That it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, gotcha. Sure. Let's see. Hack says being reasonable is hard, unfortunately. Steve, I totally agree with your point, and maybe on prescription or medical rather than a free service would be best. Uh, yeah. I don't want to defend drugs, but I don't understand why alcohol should be treated any different. I get your point. Yeah. I mean, but there's people who abuse drugs. They abuse prescription medications. So there's that. So even though some of these things are illegal, people will lie to a doctor to get the prescription meds that they want because they have an addiction. Been there, done that. And thankfully I was able to get over that. But it took a lot of therapy. It took a lot of help. It took a lot of, putting down some pride that I have to be able to get help. The self-prescription thing, prescribing drugs to yourself and self-prescribing is not a good way to go. But, the thing is, it's like anybody can get addicted to anything. I mean, there's people that overdose on food and get 600, 700, 800 pounds. And do we outlaw food? No. I just wish there was a simple answer, I really do. I like simplicity. I like things being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, But unfortunately in life, what we have is 1, 2, 3, 4, 73, 72, 9, 0, the square root of pi, and we're all over the place when it comes to things. And so the default is just be a good, responsible person. That's kind of who I hang around. And just like you all, you all seem to be good, responsible people. You're not people that is like, we're going to do this and we're going to go, we're going to get trashed and drunk and boom, and go on a killing spree or robbing stores or ripping off, carjacking. None of you are like that, and I appreciate that. The problem is that not everybody has the same level of standards. And that's where we run into problems. Hack says big corporate lobbying, similar to tobacco. And they are thinking about legalizing marijuana in the United States. Maybe not legalizing it, but lowering the classification from a hard narcotic to a lower classification, which could be interesting. I mean, that could be good because that would open up the door for treating things with marijuana. Maybe not with smoking it, but with some of the other delivery systems that actually help with Parkinson's and so on and so forth, PTSD and things like that. But then there's the other side of the coin as well. So I don't know. I don't do any of this stuff, so I don't really care. But I see the points that weed smokers make, and they make sense. Yeah. There's some veterans that I know that are avid smokers. And matter of fact, one of them was like, hey, is medical marijuana a thing in Korea? And no, it is not. Oh, no. But he really needs that stuff. And he's got some serious PTSD issues. And that's the way that he copes with that. And the way his doctors are allowing him to do that, to overcome some of these things. So overall, it's better for him to do that. And then the risk of getting lung cancer and so on and so forth because he's still smoking, it's bad. Anytime you smoke anything and put smoke into your lungs, it's not good for you. There's 3D printing, there's resin printing, there's VOCs in the air, there's contaminants and things that are not good to breathe in. There's that. But smoking was never good. It was never good. You could do that and it's just... But it's kind of like weigh the risk and reward, as there is with any other type of medication. So, leave it up to the person and the doctor, I guess. Yeah, I can attest to that. Mushrooms made me quit everything else. Really? Wow. Now I just try to keep in order. Baha. Swedish Forge. Oh, here it is. I'm addicted to FDM printing. The first step is admitting that you have a problem, and I think I do too. I don't know. I might be in denial. Hack says some people are now addicted to whippets, galaxy gas, CO2 in the U.S. Anything can be problematic. You know, the cans of compressed air that you can spray on your keyboard to clean things out. People huff that. Hell, they'll take spray paint and huff that. Seen that. Yeah. NO2, nitrous oxide. Yeah, it's some crazy stuff. 3D printing, it is a big problem. It's like meth. You know, once you get started, it just never ends. Verithus says, VOCs are the seasoning in 3D printing. I would say VOCs are the MSG of 3D printing. MSG makes everything taste better. I don't know if you knew that. It does. It actually does. I was so surprised when so many people in America are like, oh, MSG is bad. You know, and it's like, you haven't tasted MSG and what it can do to food. It is amazing. So, Hack says, one spool after another, 3D printing, it never ends. Yeah, it's funny because of when I was talking about getting into 3D printing, I did resin printing first. And so my wife is like, okay, so you want to get into resin printing? I'm like, yeah. Because these little Warhammer models are like massively expensive in resin printing. I can print them myself for pennies on the dollar. She's like, oh, okay. So then you get the machine, but then I also needed to buy a wash station, a cure station, and then the wife is like, okay, so that's all you need. I'm like, no, now I need to buy resin. She's like, you're just going to keep buying this stuff, aren't you? This is never going to end. I'm like, no. But then it did slow down when I got into 3D printing, so I replaced one addiction for another addiction. So while I don't have problems with pain medication anymore or alcohol, things like that, I have other addictions. I have a coffee addiction and I have a printing and painting addiction. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just not a good person. Maybe I'm just not. Hack says, I think MSG for Chinese food is a must in others. MSG is awesome. It is awesome. Hey, we got MD in the house. Hey. Alrighty. Yeah. Just funny stuff. Interesting things. Let's see, what else do we got going on here? Hack says, we support you in these addictions. Yes. It's kind of like AA, you know. Hi, my name's Steve. I'm a 3D addict. Hey, Steve. Yeah. Except there's no chips. You make your own chips. But you never get over the addiction. Kind of like Alcoholics Anonymous. Hi, I'm Steve. I'm an alcoholic. I've been clean for 75 years or what. You're always an alcoholic. I don't know. In 3D printing, you're just always a 3D printing addict, I guess. I think that's how that goes. Just never stops. Hack says, one thing missing out in North America is General TSO. American Chinese food is so difficult to find. General So. Oh. I'm glad I live in Korea because I can get Chinese food, but better yet, I get Korean food. And Hanu beef, oh my gosh. Oh, it is awesome. So it is amazing. Korean's good. It is definitely good. Let's see, what else do we got going on? George, our resident chef, says smoked meats and bacon are a good addiction. I'm all good for some smoked brisket, smoked chicken. Ooh, I don't really do a lot of pork. Because my stomach, if I eat too much pork, my stomach doesn't like it. I like it, but my stomach doesn't like it. So I really minimize the amount of pork. So I'm mainly eating chicken and beef. But yeah, some good smoked beef or chicken. Oh yeah. Hack says homemade bacon is something I want to try. Like raising the pig. That type of homemade bacon. You got to put your bacon in an oven. Look up oven-baked bacon. That'll blow your hair back if you do it right. It will blow your hair back. You'll never put it in a pan again. Hack says, I knew you were a Muslim, Steve. No pork, no alcohol. Checks out. No. That's not true, because soju is alcohol, and I will partake of some porkage every once in a while. Just not a lot. Very minimal. Swedish Ford says, I have to ask you, who are American, what do you think about ICE doing in the United States? You don't have to answer. Oh, that's a good question. That is a very good question. I think, as with every country, you have that country, your country has a right to allow people into the country, and you have a right to enforce the laws, your immigration laws, and if those immigrants or visa holders, whatever it is, if they break the law, one of the stipulations is usually you can be deported from that country. It's the same here in Korea, it's the same in the United States. If you, under the visa agreements and the laws for said visas that you have, there are certain things that you can do, and then there are certain there's things, basically, if you break the law, you can be deported. And it's the same thing here in Korea. When we got our visas for Korea, one of the things our immigration lawyer said was, don't get in trouble. Don't break the law. Don't get traffic tickets. I mean, dot the I's, cross the T's, be a good person. Don't break the law in Korea, because that can put your visa renewal or your visa in jeopardy. And that also includes saying, hey, don't be involved in North Korean propaganda. Don't participate in demonstrations here in Korea, because that's illegal for people who are on visas. And if I did such things, I could be deported. And those rules are pretty clear. I mean, it's not like it's, some mystery secret. And there have been people in Korea who have been on visas here in Korea who have participated in demonstrations and did things that were clearly wrong, people that broke the laws, and they were deported. I have no problem with that. The thing in the United States is, I feel, is on the same way, is you need to be careful. If you're going to have a visa in the United States or any other country, you need to be responsible. You need to be a good person and not break the laws. So when you have somebody, for example, when you have people that are in the United States illegally, those people can be deported according to law. Now, so there's that. So hopefully, now this is a separate issue than how we enforce those laws. We've seen in the United States and other countries as well of where people have enforced those laws, but did so in probably a more forceful manner than what they should have. So could have had a little bit of restraint, things will work out. It kind of reminds me of law enforcement. You have, say, here's a good analogy. So you have somebody that steals a car, and we've all seen the videos where police are chasing the bad guy, and he's going, 100, 150 miles an hour. California, I've seen it a lot. Colorado, I've seen it a lot. They're going almost 200 miles an hour, sometimes more. And the police are trying to catch up. And at 200 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour, they do a pit maneuver, the car crashes, and boom, guy ends up being, paralyzed, killed, severe injuries. Maybe they survive. A lot of them do. Were they justified in doing that? Yes. But just because you can doesn't mean you should. And so within law enforcement, there has been a change to where it ends up that you're chasing somebody who stole a car, don't do a pit maneuver in the street. Hey, was it good? Oh, you got my shirt too. It's cold. Sorry about that.
My face, I can't really feel it.
Is it cold?
My face.
Oh, you're so cold.
Oh my God, it's so
3D. This is my wife. Say hi.
Hi.
Warm up. drink some coffee, tea. You didn't have to get my shirt. We could have got that later.
Oh, that's okay.
She's so sweet. But anyway, back to the law enforcement analogy. If somebody steals a car and you're going, instead of doing a pit maneuver in a busy city or on a busy highway, or even at speeds of 70, 100 miles an hour, 200 miles an hour, just follow the person. It's just follow them. You don't have to cause a crash, just follow them. That's all you got to do. So I think that laws can be enforced, but how you enforce those laws, that's kind of the issue here. So with law enforcement, there's things that they can do so extremely, or they can do so not as extreme and still get the job done. So there's that. The other side of the coin with that is when you have people that are trying to interfere with legal law enforcement matters. So I know the thing that's been going on, you'll have people in vehicles, civilians, that are using their vehicles to block traffic from law enforcement or immigration doing their jobs and so on and so forth. So they are actually breaking laws to do what they're doing. So technically they can be arrested. Their cars can be, towed and all that stuff. They can be given citations and misdemeanors and so on and so forth. If you're a good person, are you going to cause those problems and catch crimes? And again, it's just kind of like a revolving wheel, where we're going to do this and we're going to do this, and then it just escalates and escalates. We've seen a lot of that happen, with law enforcement. We've seen it in riots. I've seen it in riots in prisons and things like that. Riots outside in cities and so on and so forth. But I think it all comes down to everybody needs to be a good person. And the majority of people think that if you're in the United States on a visa, you're immune from any type of prosecution, and that's not the case. And the same thing, if you're in the United States illegally, in other words, you don't have a visa, you can be deported. You can be arrested and deported. That's all there is to it. Most countries in the world, that is a thing. That is the norm. In some of the extreme examples, you have countries where if you are there illegally, you go straight to prison. That's it. So, yeah, it's kind of a hard thing. Dun, dun, dun. Uh-oh, Swedish Forge, he's going to throw this in here. What did I hear now that you wanted grass coffee? That's the matcha latte was horrible. For those of you who don't know, it was suggested to me to try matcha latte because I'm big on making my own lattes and espressos. So I tried that, and it was, in my opinion, it was horrible. It was like eating grass. It's like somebody took a bunch of freshly cut grass and put it into my latte. So that's the running joke. Faritha says it's the cruelty they're using at the moment. It's meant to make an example of these people to scare others. And that's what I was talking about. You can enforce the law, but they're doing so in an extreme manner when there's other ways that they can do it. The base problem that I see is that you have somebody that's here, not supposed to be in the United States. They've committed crimes as they're in the United States, and again, just the fact that they're in the United States not legally, they can be deported. That's what the law says. So if you don't like the laws, demonstrate, change the laws through the Democratic and Republican, our country is a republic, but through that process, getting people together, changing the laws, and so on and so forth, do it that way. Because when you end up going to such extremes, people are only going to get hurt, and on both sides of the fence. I mean, no one should die. I don't care if it's people in law enforcement. I don't care if it's the civilians. That is a horrible thing. Nobody should be hurt. Nobody should be assaulted. Nobody should be run over. Nobody should be shot at. Nobody should be hit with bricks and sticks and stones and the whole 9 yards, or bottles. It's just not something that's good on either side of the coin. But as a responsible individual, I guess I'm different because I will read the laws. I guess I'm just that way. I will read the laws of the land and make sure that I'm not going to break those laws. Same thing when I came to Korea. I looked at the laws. I asked our immigration lawyer and said, hey, what laws, what are the things that I can and can't do? I had a clear explanation of what I could and could not do. Problem is, in the United States, a lot of people don't even know the law. They don't know the basic laws. And I think that's because of a failed education system. But yeah, the cruelty of it is you can enforce the law, and I've seen it in prisons as well. You can be a prison guard, and you can enforce the laws the right way, or you can enforce it and be extreme and do it the wrong way. You're still enforcing, but the way that you go about enforcing it, there's problems. I don't know. They are currently ordered to be extra cruel, which is causing the whole escalation and confrontation. It's done on purpose. I don't know if they've been ordered to be extra cruel. I haven't seen any proof of that. I haven't seen, and maybe there is. I haven't, and I've kind of looked into this because of my prior law enforcement and military. I've tried to find out information, but I haven't seen, here's a copy of a transcript of the radio call of be extra mean and cruel, or whatever it is. I haven't seen that. Doesn't mean it hasn't happened. And if you do know of that, please let me know. I would love to know that. But it goes back to, you gotta be a good person. That's the default I go to. Any thoughts on Greenland or Cuba? U.S. going for a massive imperial streak lately. The Monroe Doctrine. Greenland, the 51st state. Venezuela, the 52nd state, or vice versa. I think Venezuela will be a state of the United States. I don't know. That is an interesting thing. I think there's the reasons for Greenland and Cuba is more strategic, especially Greenland. That is a huge strategic crossroads there. And so, but saying that, hey, you want to buy Greenland and stuff like that, I don't think that's a thing. Or implying that we're going to take over Greenland by force. I don't think that's in good faith. I think that's overstepping some bounds. And again, I'm an independent. There's been presidents from both sides of the fence, because unfortunately we only have a two-party system. Let's not have a third or four-party system where good ideas can actually come to fruition, like libertarians or, anyway, I digress. I don't know. That'll be quite the interesting thing. But I do know that from before, and what I knew about Venezuela and things like that were, it is a lot of oil reserves. We've known that. We do know that it's highly corrupt. We know that the Maduro government and everything a long time ago was involved in a lot of criminal shit. So that should have been handled. Why didn't the United Nations step in? Supposedly the United Nations is the United Nations of the world for a better world. Yeah, they did absolutely nothing. So I highly doubt the United Nations on the claim that they're, for doing good. That's not a thing. ICE take people who work and follow our laws. I don't know. If you're not here legally, then you're not following the laws. So there's that. If they're taking people who are here legally in the United States and are deporting them for no reason, then that's against the law. I think that's bad, and I'm totally against that. So I'm right with you on that. George says, I'm going to avoid the topic because of personal bias that it makes it difficult for me to be as objective as I would like to be. Well, that's some wisdom speaking there. Libertarian are against borders, from what I've seen in general. I don't know. It depends. It's kind of like religion. There are so many different denominations and different beliefs, and so it's kind of like saying Christian. There's so many levels and denominations and belief systems within, and many of them disagree with each other on minor points or major points. Mostly it's minor points. Um, but I don't know. The libertarians that I've met are for borders. That's kind of interesting, though. But yeah, a little bit of libertarian in there. I kind of like a little bit more of an independent. Never understood the two-party only system in the USA for such an advanced population. I know there is shade in both camps, but it hurts the voter base. Yeah, because in a two-party system, if you have a third party, really all that they're allowing that third party to do is to go against one of the other two parties and secure a victory for one of the two. So, yeah. I'm part of the religion that doesn't demonize comic books and 3D printing. That's good. I'm under the. I need something to drink. Hold on, I'm gonna go get my drink. Yeah, I need something. Oh yeah, that is chilly. That is chilly. All right, now we have beverage. Okay. Okay. For me, it ends up, you can believe whatever you want, as long as and I'm going to take this little part from the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. You can do whatever you want as long as it doesn't infringe on the rights and liberties or another person. Health, happiness, all of those things. Pursuit of happiness. Excuse me. So life, liberty, and a pursuit of happiness is what it comes down to. And the laws of the land. And if you don't like the laws of the land, then you should lobby to have those laws changed. And I think it's responsible, whether you're like me being in Korea, I'm going to be a productive citizen. I'm not going to be a drain on society. I'm going to be a good person is what it comes down to. And I think that's what everybody should strive to do. Whether you're a citizen or whether you're here visiting or like I'm on a visa and visiting and things like that, I'm not going to do anything that will cause strife here in Korea. It's just not, because I am a visitor and they're giving me the opportunity to live here through the visas that we have. And so I appreciate that. I'm not going to be like what I've seen in many places in the United States where people come to the United States, they yell, curse, scream, they actually get involved in participating in terrorist organizations and so on and so forth. Again, I'm going to the extremes on this. And then, they complain, they break the laws and stuff like that. And then they complain, well, we should be given the right to stay here. And it's like, no, countries have the right to let people in or not let them in. And I think it's unfortunate that today a lot of young people will end up thinking that we shouldn't have any borders, that countries should not have any say on who comes in their country or not, which history has shown it is definitely a thing that we need to look at. So, Hack says, how many liters of grass juice do you have in that thing? Yeah, this is a big thing. I don't know how many. What is this? This is 1.9 liters, almost 2 liters, 64 ounces of green grass goodness. No, that's not. I try to stay hydrated. Let's see. Green grass juice, yes. Green juice, green grass juice versus green coffee, grass coffee. You're never gonna let me live that down. Maybe you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna try to find some food dye. I'll go to the commissary of the store and I'll get some green food dye and I'll put it in my latte. And so it's green, but it won't taste like grass. Will that work? We're gonna try. I don't know how that will work out, because you have the brown of the espresso. With the milk, you could turn that green. That wouldn't be a problem. But what would green and brown? What would green and brown make? I don't think. Green and brown. What would that come out of there? Mixing green and brown creates earthy, muted, brownish green shades like olive, khaki, or moss. So it would, I don't know if I'd like that. I'll give it a shot though. I'll give it a shot. We could try that and see what happens. Let's see. Hack asked the question, what would be the top 3 best non-alcoholic drinks? Espresso, latte. What other drink? Pocari Sweat. That would be for right now. For those of you who are like, people are like, what? Sweat? Pocari Sweat is actually a Korean drink, and it is a iconic sports drink. So we'll take a look at this real quick. It is big in Asia. It is big in Asia, and yeah, I like that. It's kind of like a Gatorade type thing, except it's not as sweet. So despite English-speaking media mocking the name for years, Pocari Sweat has grown to become one of Asia's most popular sports drinks. And yeah, there it is, Pocari Sweat. I don't know why they call it sweat. Argument can even be made that this Japanese sports drink owes some of its success to the turning heads name and so on and so forth. Pocari doesn't have any specific meaning. It convenes a light and bright feeling in Japanese. But yeah, it's kind of a thing. Yeah, Pocari Sweat in all these stores, convenience stores and stuff like that in Korea. So it's kind of a thing. So what are some of your all's favorite drinks, non-alcoholic drinks? George says, just because I can't drink too much of it because of heartburn, orange juice. Okay. He loves orange juice. We got Brett. Brett's on board. Exvexia lemon lime. Uvexia? Huh, interesting. What is that? Let me pull that up and see. How's that spelled? Eubexia. Lemon lime. UX light. So, oh, it's an electrolyte drink. Okay. Ah, okay, I see. Gotcha. Hack says freshly pressed orange juice is probably in the top 3. I remember that. In California, when I lived in California as a kid, oh, California orange juice, like fresh, oh my gosh, that was good. But I'm not a real big orange juice fan now. Hack says pomegranate juice is second, coconut water. Swedish Forge says lemon lime juice is nice. Oh, okay. That's different. Lemon lime juice. Never had that. That could be interesting. As far as alcoholic drinks, let's go into alcoholic drinks. I like an espresso martini. I had one of those recently. Well, recently, within the last 6 months. That was really good. Espresso martini was good. Let's see. Ferrithus says lemon is always good for a sweet drink. For a sweet treat, I love banana juice. Banana juice? Brett says Jim Beam Black. Jim Beam Black. That's there's also, what about apple pie? Moonshine apple pie. That, I like that. Matter of fact, I still have some of that. I have it every once in a while. I'm not real big on drinking alcohol, but I will every once in a while. Hack says cognac with a cigar. Hack asks question to Ferrithus, banana juice or banana milk? They have banana milk here in Korea. Ferrithus says banana juice is a very finely ground banana with some water. Go back. What was I doing? It's on the wrong page. Banana milk. Here in Korea, they have banana milk, except it's sweet. It is, yeah, it is a thing. Let me see if I can show you what we're talking about. It's more like a milkshake. So there's the banana milk, and it's kind of it's sweet. It's sweet, but it's good. So there it is. Banana milk, banana uyu, pingure. So they have like banana, strawberry. They got some different flavors on there. Pretty sweet, but it's definitely a Korean thing. That's for sure. And yeah, it is good. I like that. My daughter liked that growing up. When she was a little kid, we get her banana milk, and that was always really good. When we travel around, we stop by rest stops and things like that. They have little stores, and you have banana milk and pastries and donuts and so on and so forth, along with Korean food. Wow, never tried. Seems very tasty. Yeah. Let's see. Ferret says banana milk is more like a milkshake. Then you probably like the Korean banana milk. I think you'd like that. Orange pineapple banana juice is nice. Ooh. Hack says they have really unusual drinks in Asia. Banana milk and animal sweat with unique bottle. Brett asks, what is your take on sugar? Do you avoid it if you can? I try to stay in shape. I go to the gym and stuff like that. I do have a sweet tooth, but I try to rein it in. And so I could put down a gallon of ice cream like nobody's business. I mean, and half of that would be gone. Cookies and stuff like that, yeah, I was big on that, but I really kind of reined that in as I've gotten older. And I'll still treat myself. Like Friday is donut day. Friday is donut day. At the end of the week, I'll get 2 donuts from Dunkin' Donuts or, a Korean pastry store or whatever. I'll get 2 donuts, and that's kind of my treat. But yeah, I try to avoid a lot of sugar. So I have my lattes every morning and stuff like that. But generally, the rest of the day, just kind of have normal foods, healthy foods, I guess. Not too crazy on anything. Hack says corn silk tea is top-tier in Korea, I've heard. Yes, corn silk tea is pretty good. They actually have corn silk drink. It's got a very unique taste. It's not sugary or anything like that. Hack says Ben and Jerry, what is the best ice cream? I don't know. Honestly, it's been a while. I'm kind of like a peanut butter chocolate type of guy. Let's see. But my body doesn't like a lot of dairy. It's not that I'm lactose intolerant, but I think everybody's intolerant to some degree. But I like some yogurts and stuff like that. So if you got like vanilla with chocolate and stuff like that. But as far as a specific company, I'm not sure. Nothing should be off the table. It's always about portion control, which is true. This is true. Yeah. Dunkin' Donuts in Korea exist? Yeah. Must be very different. No, actually, it's kind of the same. But there's a lot of Korean pastry stores and stuff like that. You have Paris Baguette. You have coffee shops that do pastries, and a number of independent coffee shops and bakeries will have their own. But they don't have as much sugar as pastries in the United States. So it's a little bit muted on the sugar content and stuff like that. There's stuff that they still do that's loaded with sugar. But overall, I'd say Korean pastries are less sweet than pastries that we see in the United States. Brett says, I have coffee with milk and 1 teaspoon of sugar. Hard for me to drink without any sugar. 3 or 4 a day. I'll do my morning latte, a double shot latte in the morning, which has got like, I don't use sugar. I use, stevia. Steve uses stevia. So I'll use like a small thing of that. And then of course there's sugar that's in the vanilla syrup that I use. And maybe I'll do like coconut milk or something in it as well. Swedish Forge is going to bed. It's 2:25 a.m. and thanks for the exciting stream this time. Have a good day. You too as well. My hat's off to you. Thanks for joining. Yeah, have a good evening. Get some sleep. 2:25. That's crazy. And speaking about going somewhere, it is, what time is it? It is almost 10:30 and I need some food. I need foodin'. So, yeah. So anyway, we haven't solved the world's problems. So darn it, we missed out again. We were close. Just be a good person. Everything within moderation. I think that is probably the best advice that Ferrithus gave. Nothing is off the table, except for maybe meth. Meth, you can't moderate with meth. Portion control with meth or heroin, it's probably not. But everything else, yeah, portion control. Yeah, and trying to solve the world's problem. Maybe tomorrow we'll have a better shot at that. So anyway, yeah, so we ended up painting the miniature with the Artecho, and it turned out pretty good. I wish the autofocus on this was a lot better, but we did pretty good. Even though we had the explosion on the base with the crackle, we did show that the Artecho paints are good for painting miniatures, and they're definitely less expensive than Army painter paints. Again, 57 cents an ounce, 71 cents an ounce, depending on the paints that you get from Artecho versus, $40, $50, $100 or more per ounce when you get Army painter paints. So, yeah. And then we talked about a bunch of other cool stuff. Food and drink and all that. Bertha says, good seeing you, Steve. Enjoy your day. I'm wrapping up and going to bed. All right. Sweet dreams. Mr. Ferrithus, have a good one. And anybody else that is not living here in Korea, it's probably getting close to bedtime, depending on where you live. But with that, thank you for all the likes. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, do that. That would really help me out. I would appreciate that. So be sure to click like, subscribe, ring the bell, the whole 9 yards. You can do that. And we'll close up the stream. With that, if you want to get in contact with me, here it is. There's my email address, officialtheverylife@gmail.com. I always answer within 1 or 2 days. Ask Terry or a number of other people. Tell me what you're doing. Show me what you're printing, painting. Show me the meat that you're roasting and smoking, whatever it is, or just say hi. Love to get that from you. People have bought me coffee. You can do that. But again, like I said, the very best thing that you could end up doing is liking, subscribing the channel. That's kind of like what I'm going for since I'm retired. That's the YouTube thing is now a hobby. And yeah, doing the like and subscribe would help in that endeavor. So that's going to be it. I really appreciate everybody coming and watching the stream and everything. And going to get some breakfast I don't think we'll go out for breakfast. I think I'll just eat at home today. And thank you. Thank you for watching and doing all the good stuff that you do. Continue to be a good person. Find something that you enjoy and do it. Whether you're old or young, if you're young, just keep doing it until you're old. If you're old, find something, a hobby, whatever it is, learn, print, paint, sing. Find something that you enjoy and do it, because life is short, okay? And be a good person to others. That's what it comes down to. I've found that the majority of the time, if you're a good person, that fixes a lot of problems to begin with. Okay, that's going to be it. We'll see you on the next one. Peace. Good stuff.